Hello, and thank you for calling the Lessons and Wisdom Call. My name is Issachar Bey. I am the Senior Director of the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center, and I'm just excited and happy that you guys can be on the call tonight. Hope you guys had a wonderful day today and that you're in a good place, because tonight we have a great call tonight. I'm excited about this call. My intention is that this call will begin to expand your level of consciousness, but allow you to make the changes to get the results that you need in your reality. And so we're excited about that tonight. We understand and we realize, too, that our consciousness is our only reality. It is the only substance that we need and that we have. And when we understand the importance of it and how really great this is, that we are able to utilize and begin to operate with it at any given level. And so I just think that it's wonderful that we are being able to be in like-minded situations like this, where we can all get on the call with the same ideas, the same concepts, the same desires to create our own reality, to have the life that we want to live. And so I just think that it's absolutely, absolutely wonderful that you guys took the time out of your busy schedules and were able to be on this call tonight. We understand that tomorrow is the new moon, so we definitely want to continue to remind you all that it is a great time to manifest. It's a great time to put into writing the things that we want to manifest and that we want to put into perspective. And it's also going to be a solar eclipse tomorrow, so that automatically tells me that there's going to be some great changes coming in the near future. And we are definitely in the time frame of receiving all the good, unexpected and expected, that the universe has for us. And so I just want to encourage you to be in your manifestation mindsets going into tomorrow, and begin to write down and put into perspective a lot of things that you want to manifest, a lot of things that you want to get into position. And once we do this, I believe that there's no other place to be rather than to be in consciousness and to be in a place where I can utilize and expand and create the life that I've always wanted to live. And so I just think that there's no greater time like the present. We're halfway through the year. We have another 6 months left, and as we get ready to move into this second half of the year, I think that it's imperative that we actually be in a position and a place to where we can have our goals met, that we can put our plans together and see them unfold, that whatever blueprint that we put out, that whatever we put out to do, to have, and to be, will begin to unfold in this year. And so I'm excited about all the things that you guys are working on, all the things that you guys are getting ready to put into perspective, whether it's in your finances, your business, your relationships, your marriage, your family, your children, whatever it is that you're going to be doing, that you are absolutely in the right position, in the right place to do the things that you need to do for the remainder of this year. And so we're excited about the position that we're in. Tonight, we're going to get into unpacking a great topic that I believe is needed for now. I actually was in meditation, and I was asking Spirit, what do I need to release to the people on tonight? Something that will begin to revolutionize their minds and begin to expand and stretch them, that they may be able to get to the place where they need to be and begin to go through the transformations that we all are going through in this journey they call life. And I begin to really look at what Spirit was giving me. And tonight we're going to be talking about the 10 keys of reinventing your self-image. I don't know if you guys know this, ladies and gentlemen. Image is everything. It's everything. Image is everything. As a matter of fact, the Bible says that God created us in his image and his likeness. Image is everything. And I believe that in order for me to live the lifestyle that I want to live, in order for me to have the things that I need to have and to be in the position that I want to be in, I have to be able to reinvent my self-image. It's the only way that I can get to that place because I have to begin to understand that there is no separation between my self-image and who I am. Let's look at the text for tonight. I love the Amplified Bible because just the way that it breaks down the scripture, it kind of pulls back the layers, so to speak, and it gives you just a little bit more deeper analysis and breakdown of the scripture. But I looked at this scripture in the King James, the NIV. I looked at it through all of the different ones, but the Amplified one, and I kind of like the Amplified myself, the Amplified version. Psalms 139, 13 to 14. Those of you that are listening and you have your call notes, you can follow us. If you're listening in, if somebody just gave you this number and said, listen, you need to be on this call tonight, and you don't have access to the call notes, what's going to happen is this call is going to be put on our YouTube page, and which will be at the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. And when you go to that page, this call will be on there. It'll have everything you need. It'll have the link for the call notes. You'll be able to listen to the call notes again as many times as you want. You'll be able to take notes and so forth. And so you'll be able to have access to those links. Psalms 139 and 13 says, "For you formed my innermost parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I will give thanks and praise to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well." Listen, here in Psalms, he says here, you formed my innermost parts, which means you molded me. You put me together inside the innermost parts. Those are the parts that count, what goes on the inside. The Bible says the kingdom of heaven is within. It's the innermost parts that he formed, that he molded together and formed together the innermost parts. The innermost parts are the cause. Whatever happens in the innermost parts as the cause, the effects will be in my physical reality. It goes on to say here, he knit me together in my mother's womb. Now, anybody that understands what knitting is very precise. It's very time-consuming. You got to be patient. You have to really be able to know how to really knit together, and also have to have a design purpose. What are you knitting? Are you knitting a blanket, a hat, a scarf? You have a understanding of what you're knitting. You have precision and calculation, but at the same time, it takes patience. It takes a different level of skill set to knit. But he knit us together in our mother's womb. Listen, everything happens inside. That's the cause. In order for me to change the effects, what happened in my physical reality, I got to be able to realize what happens in the knitting, what happens into the forming of my innermost parts. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. This scripture was very profound to me because it talks so much about how we should see ourselves, the self-image of ourselves. Now, when we talk about self-image, we get to a place like this. How I see myself may not be how other people see me. I may see myself as how I believe I should be looked at, or how I should be perceived in my environment. But that does not really equal how people look at me. People look at me from a different perspective of how they perceive me, maybe on my image of how I first introduced to them, or as the period of time happens, them being around me, listening to me, being in my presence, seeing how I operate, how I move, how I think, how I operate, and how I actually am in my everyday life. So the perspective of my self-image of how I see myself and how people see me are different. But we're trying to get to a place now where how we are and our self-image should be exactly in alignment with how other people see us. I don't want to be perceived as something else that I'm not. I don't want to think of myself as something that nobody else can see, and everybody sees something different as well. What I see, everybody else should see. It should be oneness and alignment, one accord. God created us in his image and in his likeness. We have here our definition. What is self-image? Self-image is a mental picture of yourself, both as a physical body and individual. When you think about yourself, your feelings, the images that come up are very important. Self-image also involves how you feel about your strengths, weaknesses, and abilities. When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? Are you happy with the way you look? Are you happy the way you feel about yourself? Are you happy about just yourself in general, your where you are in your life, your lifestyle, your productivity? Are you happy with all those different areas of your life? Because all of those things are combined and connected to your self-image. Image is everything. You are your image, and your image is you. When you first meet somebody, the first thing they look at is what you're wearing, how you look, how you dress, what you drive. You know, they often say all the time that a person will ask you what you do for a living, so that they can determine how much respect to give you. Oh, you're a doctor? Oh, she's a lawyer. Oh, he's a judge. Based on what I do, it's based on the level of respect I get. But that's what people do when they ask you what do you do for a living. Hey, man, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a computer operator. Oh, he's a computer operator. Oh, he's a doctor. Oh, he's a lawyer. Because we associate what we do as the level of respect. But that's what happens. That's neither here or there. But in retrospect, your self-image should be in oneness with who you are. There should be no separation with how I see myself and how other people see me. As a matter of fact, one of the scriptures that I love is, let's go to Matthew 16, 13 through 20. And I'm going to be reading out of the King James. Just give you a little overview of what's happening. So here, Jesus goes to his disciples and he says, who do men say that I am? He says, I want to know, what are the people saying about me? What are they saying in the streets? What are the streets saying about me? And they said to him, some say that you are John the Baptist. He said, some say that you are Elias, Jeremiah, or some even call you one of the prophets. He says, okay, so that's what the streets are saying. He says, but listen, you 12 guys, you were my disciples, you followed me, you've been with me, I've poured into you, I've taught you, you basically live with me, you're with me all the time. I want to know, who do you think I am? And Simon says to him, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus says to him, blessed art thou. He says, man, you're blessed. He says, because flesh and blood have not revealed that to you, but my Father which is in heaven. He said, listen, I never told y'all who I was. I never once came out and says, I am Jesus, the Son of God, the Son of the living God. I never came out and told y'all that. But because I'm walking in my I amness, and because I am walking in my self-image, there's no separation from my self-image and who I am. It's only by my Father which is in heaven that you got that revelation of who I am, because I never told you that. Whatever your self-image is, you shouldn't have to tell nobody who you are. You should automatically walking in that self-image so that whoever you are, people can automatically connect with who you are, not who you think you are, not who you want to be, or not who you should be, but who you are. And so he tells them, this is very good. Verse 19, he says, verse 18, he says, thou art Peter, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail. But then I love verse 19, because Jesus says to him, he says, I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Listen, I will give you keys to the kingdom of heaven. He says, whatsoever thou bind on earth, it shall be bound in heaven. And whatsoever thou loose on earth, it shall be loosed in heaven. He gave him the king. He gave him the keys. And when you begin to understand that and look at this, Jesus never told them who he was. he knew who he was. He knew what his self-image was. He knew who he was, and he walked, he lived, and he became that. And because he became that, they begin to see who he was. It didn't get revealed. I asked the question tonight, who are you? It's on our notes question tonight. It says, who are you? Not what your name is, but who are you? Can you actually answer that question and put down who you are? Tonight, I want to talk about the 10 ways of reinventing your self-image. Why? Because in order for you to be where you need to be the person that you were created to be, to walk in your destiny, to walk in your purpose, you got to be able to reinvent your self-image. There's many of us tonight that may not feel good about ourselves. We may put out the persona that everything in life is wonderful. We may put out the persona, we may put it out in the public that we're doing fine and we're happy and we're wonderful and our life is great. But on the inside, the reality, the innermost part, on the innermost part of our being, we're not happy. We don't feel good about ourselves. We're at a place where we don't really want to deal with ourselves, because I'll tell you this, the greatest fight you will ever fight in life is the fight against yourself. That's the great, listen, anybody on this call tonight, you can fight many people. You're fighting your neighbors, you're fighting all these people. The greatest fight in life is the fight against yourself, because a lot of times we don't want to deal with what we have to go through in order to deal with ourselves. We don't want to look ourselves in the mirror. We could tell everybody else what's wrong with them. We could tell everybody else what they need to fix. We could tell everybody else what the problem is on their end, but we never want to look at ourselves and realize that I am the problem, that I'm messed up, that I'm broken. We don't ever want to admit that. We don't ever want to deal with that because of what we look at as so much work and fixing it and putting it back together. But you got to understand that in order to reinvent your self-image, you got to put the work in. The work is not an outside work, it's an inside work. Listen, a lot of times when people want to reinvent their self-image, what they do is they change their hairstyle, they wear new clothes, they get a new car, they move into a new house. They do things on the outside, and they put out the false pretenses that things are going well and that they're moving up and that things are just wonderful and that everything is going great. But on the inside, they're really not happy. They're really depressed. They're really at a place of being alone. They have a spirit of loneliness. They have a spirit of desperation, of just trying to survive and just really holding up the false pretenses of what's not real. And so I will tell you this, you will always know a tree by the fruit that it bears. I don't care what you look like on the outside, how much makeup you got on, if you got a weave, a lace front, whatever you got on, all that's wonderful. It looks great. I love it. But you will always know a tree by the fruit that it bears. An orange tree can never give me apples. An apple tree can never give me grapefruits. So I got to be in a position to where I'm always looking at the tree, the fruit that it bears, because the fruit that it bears lets me know at the root level what kind of tree this is. And so I'm no longer fooled by what's being put out in front of me or what the persona of the thing is, but I'm able to connect in my level of oneness, of being able to understand the necessary changes that got to be made. Reinventing your self-image is everything, because your self-image is what actually is actually in connection with you. So in order for you to change your self-image, you got to be able to change you, because there's no separation between your self-image and who you are. But guess what? The world separates it. The world's self-image is totally different from who they are. If we look on Instagram, we look on Facebook, we look on Snapchat, we look on Twitter, everybody's posting all these wonderful pictures and everything is wonderful, everything is beautiful, everything is fine, everything. But in reality, it's totally opposite of what we're seeing, or the personified picture of what we're putting out. The image that's being presented to us is not what's really going on in the reality. And so tonight, we're going to learn how to reinvent our self-image so that there's a oneness. There's no separation. Now, listen to me. Somebody may say, well, listen, in the scripture, in Psalms 139, it says, you formed my innermost parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. So if God did that, then we ought to be the person that we need to be. And that's true. Now listen, when the Bible talks about you formed us, our innermost parts, and you knit us together in our mother's womb, God put everything in you that you need. Everything that you need is within you. You don't need anything else outside of yourself. Everything you need is already within you. You came fully equipped. Now here's the problem. The problem is you forgot about it. You forgot that you were formed. He formed your innermost parts. You forgot that you were knitted together in your mother's womb. So these calls and these teachings are only bringing you back to remembrance of what's already within you. We're not telling you anything new. We're just bringing you back to a remembrance of who you are and what you have inside of you. And once you come back into the remembrance of what you have inside of you, it changes the dynamic now. Because now you realize that, wait a minute, you know what? I don't have to be broken anymore. I don't have to lie and perpetrate and try to portray to be somebody who I'm not. I don't have to try to, quote unquote, keep up with the Joneses. I don't have to try to do that anymore. I can just be me and understand that I'm more than enough. And I'm not worried about what other people think. I think the greatest deliverance in life is the deliverance over about what other people think about you. If you can get delivered about what other people think about you, you'll be so surprised at how much freedom and how much the level of ease you have of not worrying about what other people think. I never understood why is it so important about what other people think, because the people who you're worried about, their life is not no better than your life, but you're worried about what people are saying or what people are doing, or you're operating outside of yourself when the only thing that matters is your self-image. So tonight, I want to look at the 10 keys to reinventing your self-image. Image is everything. The number one key, we're going to start at number one. The number one key is take off your mask. Has anybody on this call tonight, you ever started dating somebody, or you met somebody and you went out on the date, and, you know, when you went out on the date, the person seemed so nice, wonderful. They pulled your chair out. They opened the door for you. They did all these wonderful things. You know, they always say when you meet somebody or you start dating somebody, you never really meet them. You meet the representation of them. You know, they put out this, you know, image of what they want you to believe that they are or what they think you would like. But as time goes on and you begin to learn them and begin to know who they are, you come into a place now where you realize, wait a minute, this is not the person that I met when we first met. You know, I'm seeing a different person now. I'm seeing a different image of the person that I thought was something else. But what you're really seeing is you're really seeing the real person. When you met them and you were dating them in the beginning, they had a mask on. They weren't really who you thought they were. And so the first key into reinventing your self-image, you got to take the mask off. A lot of us have been wearing a mask so long, we forgot our identity. We don't even know who we are, because we've been so busy hiding our insecurities, hiding how we feel about ourselves, hiding who we really are, that we have now believed that we're somebody who we're not. So you got to take off the mask. You got to be able to take off the mask and be who you are. Because when you take off the mask, you have a mask on because you feel like when people look at you, they'll see the insecurities. They see the brokenness. They'll see that you are, quote unquote, maybe suicidal, or that you're delusional, or that you are, you know, that you are broken. They see you feel that people will see those things. So you put on a mask, a persona, to hide that, because you don't want anybody to know who you really are. But if you're in that situation tonight, these 10 keys will help you to transform your self-image, to put you in a place where now you don't have to wear a mask anymore, that you can be who you are. Jesus never wore a mask. When he said, who do men say that I am? What are the streets saying? They said, some say you are a prophet, some say you're John the Baptist. He says, okay, but that's great. I see what the streets are saying, but what are y'all saying? And he says, you are Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. He said, but I never told y'all who I was. I didn't have to speak and never utter a word about who I am. I just walked in my self-image, my consciousness of I amness, and who I was projected. And because you are on my level of consciousness, you are able to connect with and understand who I was. I didn't have to wear a mask to personify who I thought I was, or who I should be, or who I wanted y'all to believe I was. All I had to do was be me. And the same thing, you no longer have to wear the mask. Take the mask off. Remove it. Remove the mask. there's such a system or level of release when you remove your mask, because now you're opening yourself up to now be able to change. That's the first step. You're able now to really move into a level of being able to say, you know what, I got to make a change. You know, I've been living my life. I haven't been living my life the way that I need to. I've been living under the mask, trying to hide some of the things that I need to hide. I've been, you know, not really wanting to deal with myself, and a lot of things that I've held on to for years, and a lot of things I need to let go of. The second key is being honest with yourself. After you remove the mask, you got to be honest. I've got to be honest with myself and say, look, you know what? I need to make a change. I can no longer live like this anymore. I no longer can live in a personification, in a persona of being something that I'm not, or something that I want to be, or shall, or could, or would, but I got to be who I am. I got to be who I am. I just got to be myself. I can no longer hide behind the mask. I can no longer pretend to be something that I want people to like. I just got to be me. Listen, everybody on this call, you are an original. You are an original. There are no copies. You are an original. And nobody else can be you but you. You can be the best version of yourself. Just be you. Don't try to be nobody else. Just be you. And begin to understand that when you become who you are, and you begin to understand that you are an original and that you don't have to be a copy, it changes the game. Because now you can be honest with yourself and say, listen, you know what? I gotta be honest with myself. I don't like where I'm at. I don't like how I feel about myself. I don't like certain the things that I'm involved in. I don't like the way that my life is going right now. And I feel like I'm suffocating myself because I feel like I'm trying to put this persona out to be somebody and to be something that I'm not. And once I take that mask off, the relief that you find yourself in is that I no longer have to portray or hide or lie anymore, but I could just be me. I could just be honest and say, now that I'm at a place where I'm honestly know who I am and where I'm at, and I've removed the mask, now I can start working on reinventing my self-image. Now I can work on becoming the person that I want to be. The third key is developing your imagination. The imagination is the beginning of creation. The imagination is everything. Your imagination is what's going to give you, is the tool that you're going to use to reinvent your self-image. It is the tool that you're going to use to create and to begin to see yourself being, doing, and having all that you want. It is the tool that you're going to be able to use to really expand and move into a higher level of understanding. It is the ability to orchestrate and to lay out and to put into a systematic approach on how we're going to change the dynamics of our self-image. It's everything. And the more that you begin to utilize your imagination, the more that you will begin to see that life will begin to open up and unfold to you in ways that you would never even imagine. Because as you begin to use your imagination, you know, once your mind expands, it can never go back to its original form. Number four is very good. Number 4 here talks about maintaining and actually maintaining and bringing in the winning feeling. Well, what do you mean by that? Everybody on this call loves to be a winner, playing a game of spades, playing checkers, chess, playing bingo. If you've ever won a game, that feeling of being a winner, right, of being a winner. And if you ever played any game where you're good at, and every time you play somebody, you always win, you have a certain confidence, a certain level of consciousness about yourself because you're a winner. Winners operate differently than losers. But when you have a winning feeling, guess what? You have to cultivate and maintain that winning feeling, because guess what? Your feeling, write this down, your feeling nature is what magnetizes a thing to you. So if I have a winning feeling, guess what? I'm going to win in life, because now that feeling of winning is going to magnetize to me opportunities, situations, and things that will open up to me that would allow me to be a winner in life. Not only that, I will start magnetizing and putting myself around winners, because I can only manifest and magnetize to myself who I am. I can't win in life until I become a winner, but I have to first become a winner from within. The feeling of a winner, the feeling nature of a winner will put me in situations where I will now begin to win in life. I begin to win in every aspect of my life. Somebody says, well, you know what, I really need to work with that, because if you start meditating on having a winning feeling of being a winner and how it feels, and hold on to that feeling and begin to understand that, what happens is opportunities and situations will start happening, and people will say, wait a minute, man, it just seems like your life just took off, man, and it seems like you're just in a whole different place. And it's amazing, because it doesn't seem like you did anything. It just seems like everything is just opening up for you, and you're in the right place at the right time. But they don't know that you've been working on the inside, that you've been cultivating and maintaining that winning feeling. And because you've been doing that, remember, everything that happens on the inside is the cause. And if I want to change the effects of what happens in my physical reality, I got to be able to do the work on the inside. But as I work on having the winning feeling on the inside, it's going to change my physical reality, because doors will begin to open up, opportunities will begin to present themselves to me, where I will begin now to win in life. I tell people all the time, life is a game, and you need to learn how to win in the game of life. And one of the ways that we do that is we learn how to play the hand that we were dealt. Everybody on this call was dealt a special hand. The Bible says it here in Psalms 139, you knit me together in my mother's womb. Everybody has a different talent. Everybody has a different goal, talent, precept, personality about them. Everybody's made originally on their own. There's no copies that were made. Everybody's an original. And so because of that, I now have the ability to become a winner. I can be a winner by bringing in, cultivating, and maintaining that winning feeling. Guess what? When you start maintaining the winning feeling, you start seeing things change in your life, because now people who are operating in the loser mentality will no longer want to be around you. They will say, oh, he or she is stuck up. They conceited. They think they all of that. You don't think you're all of that. You're not being conceited. You're not being arrogant. You're just walking around with a winning attitude. And because their attitude is not on a winning level, they are not at your level of consciousness anymore. So what happens is they automatically will disassociate themselves from you, because their consciousness can't be in the same presence as yours. But what happens is once they disassociate themselves from you, you start seeing that being replaced with the winners in your physical reality. You start seeing yourself surrounded by winners. You start seeing yourself getting winning opportunities over and over and over again. And you'll say to yourself, wow, all of this happened just by me cultivating and maintaining a winning feeling. Number 5. Number 5 says, aim to be happy. Like I had a bow and arrow, and I was targeting my target. I was aiming for my target. Happiness would be my target, and I would aim for happiness. But guess what happens? The Bible says that sin means to miss the mark. Means that I put my bow and arrow and I targeted. I put it on the target of happiness, and when I released it, I missed the mark. I didn't hit happiness. And so the Bible says that sin means to miss the mark. Some of us are not even aiming. What are you aiming for in life? What is the target that you're aiming for? Many of us have seen people who are rich, successful. They have all the resources in the world. They have all the money in the world, but they're not happy. They're sad. They're depressed. They're taking pills to get up. They got to take pills to go to sleep. Why? When they have no happiness. So one of the ways of being able to cultivate and change your self-image is to aim for happiness. I got to aim for it, because whatever I'm aiming for, I'm using my focus, precision, and energy to hit it right on the bullseye. Anybody who ever played darts, and you take the darts and you're trying to hit the middle of the board, bullseye, but you're aiming for something. And because you're aiming for something, you're putting your focus, your energy, and your effort into it. The same thing with happiness. I got to aim for it. Why? Because there's something about an inner happiness that changes the game. Not an outside happiness. An outside happiness is temporary. You know, you buy a new car, you buy a new house, and that only lasts for a certain period of time, and then you get used to it because it's an everyday thing. But an inner happiness happens. It doesn't matter what happens or doesn't happen. You have an inward happiness. Now, of course, you'll see people all through your life who have a great level of success, a great level of resources. They're rich, they're famous, but they're very unhappy. And you can say to yourself, well, I don't understand how these people can have all the resources, be famous, everybody loves them, they buy their products, their music, they support their movies, and these guys are the biggest in the world, and they're so unhappy. I don't want to be like that. I want to have pure happiness. And so my aim is for happiness to be happy regardless of what goes on in the outer world, regardless of what happens in the White House, regardless of what happens in space, regardless of what happens outside of the country. I want to always be able to aim for happiness and have that inner happiness. That inner happiness is the greatest feeling in the world, when you can be happy regardless of what happens or don't happen, regardless of who's with you and who's not with you. It's something about that level of happiness that brings you into a great place of release, relaxation, brings you to a greater level of abundance, and it gives you a peace of mind, as the Bible says, a peace that passes all understanding. It brings me into that level of consciousness. And so what happens here is that number 5 is to aim for happiness. But guess what? The more you aim at something and the more you focus on the target, eventually you'll hit it. And guess what? The more you practice aiming at the target and you practice aiming at happiness and you practice it, sooner or later, to go even deeper, you no longer have to aim at happiness, you become happiness. I no longer have to aim at my targets no more. I've got so connected in understanding how to aim and shoot that now whatever my target is, I become the very thing that I need to focus on. The very target that I'm trying to hit, I become one with it. And so you begin to really move into that. Number 6 will bring us into cultivating good habits. You know, if I'm going to change my self-image about myself, I need to have good habits. Now, the good habits definitely have to be inwardly. You know, so it could be, you know, maybe I need to take time out to meditate. I need to take time out to make sure that I'm mentally good, that I'm mentally stable, that I have at least an hour or two every day where I can just be at peace with myself. What books am I reading? How am I really expanding my level of consciousness and my level of knowledge and wisdom? How many books am I reading all the time? That's why I'm kind of glad that we're actually working on the Millionaire series of the Bible, because a lot of us will be able to get these books and begin to start utilizing and reading these books that will, again, actually really expand our consciousness and bring us into a greater level of understanding. And so it allows us to really move and operate and really begin to really get to the place where we can now cultivate good habits. Good habits are great, but it's the overshadowing and the breaking of the bad habits. You know, many of us may have to change our eating habits. Maybe we eat too late at night. Maybe the things that we're eating we know that are no good for us. And so we need to change those things, those habits, and begin to cultivate the good habits, because the good habits are what's going to allow us to get longevity. Listen, these 10 keys are about changing your self-image, but understand your life is a journey. It's not a destination. You know, when you begin to get to plateaus, when you begin to get to certain destinations in life, it's not really about you getting to the plateau or to the destination. It's the journey you took to get there. When you look back on the journey, you was like, man, you know what? I was glad that I went through everything that I went through, because it made me who I am. It allowed me to get the experiences and get the knowledge and everything that I needed in life. It allowed me to really open up and really focus and be in those situations. And so because of that, I'm excited about my future. I'm excited about what's happening. I'm excited about everything that's going to happen in due time and in due place. So this is something that I think that, you know, it's very imperative that we cultivate good habits, that we bring discipline and structure into our lives, that we start organizing and putting things in perspective, because we have to be able to want to reinvent and change. In order to make the change, we got to bring in the good habits. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So if I want to change my self-image, I got to be able to make these changes. I got to be able to implement good habits. Number 7 is growing from your mistakes. Mistakes are what people call experiences in life. You know, being able to learn from your mistakes. But guess what? You no longer have to learn from your mistakes. You can learn from other people's mistakes, and we call that wisdom. And so if you're able to get the wisdom of the mistakes or the experiences from other people, you don't have to go through those things, because they say, listen, when I got to this point in life, I went right instead of left. And this is what happened when I went right. I would definitely, you know, inform you and give you guidance that I think you should go left. Because when I went right, this is what happened. When I got to this level in my life and I went up, I should have went down, because when I went up, this is what happened. Had I went down, this is what it's taken place. We learn from other people's mistakes, or what we call experiences. We call it wisdom. And so that allows us to grow and to expand. Now, when we talk about mistakes, I like to say this. A lot of times in life, people will say, you know what, I went through this and I went through that and I really lost. I took a loss. No longer will we utter the words, I took a loss. We didn't lose. Instead of taking a loss, we got a lesson. There's no losses. It's a lesson. So going forward, I would no longer use the vocabulary or use the words, I took a loss, or it was a loss. It wasn't a loss. It was a lesson. Everything you go through is a lesson in life. You take that lesson and you grow from it and you expand from it. You take it as a lesson, but you understand and know that that lesson that you've learned is going to benefit you later on, because when you look back in life, you'll say, you know what? Oh, man, those things that I went through, those lessons that I took, those lessons that I experienced on my journey, those lessons really, they really helped me. They really helped me to go to the next level. They really helped me to expand and really go to a higher level in life. I'm kind of glad I went through the things I went through, because it made me stronger. It made me wiser. It made me more secure in who I am. It gave me a greater level of self-identity. It gave me an understanding of who I really am, and not who I want to be or not who I should be, but who I really am, my purpose, my destiny in life. And so I'm able to grow and expand from my mistakes. I'm able to grow and expand from the wisdoms and experiences of other people who have done what I'm getting ready to do, or what I'm in the process of doing, who have went on before me. And so I'm able to learn from those mistakes and experiences. Number 8 is to acknowledge your weaknesses. Now, this is key, because a lot of times we always focus on what our strong attributes are, but you got to be able to be honest with yourself and look at your weaknesses. You know what your weakness is, what you're not very strong in, and it's nothing to beat yourself up over about, but you have to acknowledge it, because if you acknowledge what's weak, you can actually work on that weakness till it becomes strong. You know, those of you that work out, you can say, you know what, my upper body is very strong. You know, my shoulders, my forearms, my chest area, everything is strong. But when it comes to my legs are very weak. But if you start working out and working on your legs, guess what? After a period of time, those weak legs now become strong. The Bible says, let the weak say, I am strong. So what happens is, the more that I begin to acknowledge and really work on my weaknesses now will become my strengths. But you got to be able to acknowledge it. You can't allow yourself to overshadow it, don't want to deal with it, but you got to be able to deal with it, because a lot of times in life, you know, our life is actually composed of our upbringing, what our mother and father instilled in us, our environment of how we grew up, where we grew up at, the things we encountered as children. We grow up in life, we still holding on to a lot of psychological baggage, things that happen to us. We're still holding grudges and haven't forgiven people who are dead and gone. We're still holding grudges against them. We haven't learned how to release and let go. And we're still holding on to these things, and these things that we're holding on to psychologically, they are affecting our self-image. So in order to change the self-image, these are some of the weaknesses that we got to acknowledge. We got to acknowledge the fact that I'm still holding on grudges. There's still a lot of people I haven't forgiven. You may haven't even forgiven yourself about certain situations that have happened to you that you feel like were your fault, things that have happened in your life. So these are the things that have to be dealt with and have to be acknowledged before we can actually say that we're going to be walking in a new self-image and begin to transform our lives. We gotta acknowledge those weaknesses. A lot of us are carrying baggage. A lot of us are carrying things that we need to let go of, that we shouldn't be holding on to anyway. A lot of us are carrying other people's problems. We're carrying other people's issues and different things. There's a lot of things we need to let go of because these things also are affecting our self-image. We got to let those things go. And being able to do that is absolutely will put you in a great and a phenomenal state if you're able to acknowledge your weaknesses, be able to deal with them, begin to work on them until they become your strength. Number 9, this is one of my favorite keys. No more excuses, make adjustments. No more excuses, make adjustments in life. I was going to do this, but this happened. My life is the way it is because, I wanted to do this with my life, but this happened and then that happened and I had to do this and I had to do that. So no more excuses. No more. After tonight, we're no longer making no more excuses as to why things are the way they are. The only thing we're going to do now is make adjustments. Make the adjustment so that I can get to the place where I need to be in life. I'm not making no excuses anymore because I'm not going to blame anybody else for where I am. I am in the position I am in because of me, not because nobody else forced me to be here. Nobody else made me be here. But guess what? I'm a volunteer. I signed up to be where I am at in my life right now. Everybody on this call, you signed up to be where you are in your life. When you were a child, you were under your parents' parental guidance, you were a victim. Everything that happened to you, you were a victim because you were not in control of your life. You were under parental guidance. But after you became an adult, 18, 21 years old, and you begin to get out in life and begin to operate as a grown-up, you now became a volunteer. Everything that you deal with in life, you signed up for it. Well, what do you mean by that? You mean I never signed up to be broke. I never signed up to be lonely, broke, busted, disgusted. I never signed up to be sick. None of that. But you did. You only get out of life what you pay for. What are you paying your attention to? You only get out of life what you pay for. So if you're paying attention to the negative, if you're paying attention to being sick, if you're paying attention to being broke, if you're always complaining about not having enough money, or the neighborhood you live in is the bad neighborhood and something always happens, and you're always focusing on those things, those are the things that will reoccur over and over again in your life because you pay for them. You're paying your attention. So no longer are we going to make excuses. We're going to make the adjustments now. Now we're going to make the adjustments. Now I'm going to make adjustments, and my adjustments start within. Because I'm going to now make the adjustments within because I understand that my innermost parts and me being knit together in my mother's womb was an inside job. That's the cause. The effect of my life is going to be in my physical reality. In order to change what happens in my physical reality, I have to go in and change my inner work. So when I change the inner work now, I begin to now change the outer work. The cause will always give us the effect. There can never be a cause without an effect. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So now we move into that. Now we move into making the adjustments. Making the adjustments to be a better me, have a better lifestyle, really put my life in a better position, my finances, my family, my businesses, everything that I'm doing. I want to be at a better place in life. I want to be at a place in life where I'm just ready to expand and grow and really move to some great levels in life. I'm ready. because I have to make adjustments. No longer will I make excuses anymore. I got to make adjustments. And when you make adjustments now, you're taking full responsibility of what happens. Things begin to change. You got to understand, in order to change your life, you have to go through the inside. And as you start working with all these 10 steps that we're going over tonight, your life will automatically change. Listen, there's somebody here who's listening right now who's saying, you know what, I want to change my life. And you want to make $100,000 a year, you want to make $250,000 a year. Now, I tell people this all the time. If you ever want to see where you're going in life, if you ever want to see what your future looks like, look at the 5 friends that you have around you. Your friends are a resume of what you're going to become. You cannot make $250,000 a year if you're hanging around people that make $30,000 a year. You can't do it. So what happens is you have to now make the adjustment from within. You don't have to go find people that make $250,000 a year. You don't have to find them. You don't have to get rid of the people that make $30,000 a year. All you got to do is go within and make the adjustment, because what happens now, when you make that adjustment, the people who make $30,000 a year will begin to disassociate themselves from you. You don't have to do anything, and then you'll start magnetizing people to you. When you start utilizing that winning feeling and you start captivating those good habits and you start aiming to be happy and you start really operating in this, you'll start seeing yourself, wait a minute, I went to the coffee shop, met this guy at Starbucks. Come to find out, he works for this big Fortune 500 company. He makes $250,000 a year. He invited me to this card game they have. Everybody in there and the universe begins to open the doors and starts connecting the dots. But you didn't do anything. The only thing you were supposed to do was make the adjustment. You didn't make an excuse. You made the adjustment. And because you made the adjustment, now things begin to open up and things begin to fall into place. Now listen, when you start utilizing these 10 keys, some of you are gonna feel like, oh my God, my life is falling apart. Your life is not falling apart. Your life is falling in place. Sometimes things need to get broken off and need to get broken up so that they can actually fall right back into place where it needs to be. So I got to be in a position to make adjustments. And once I make these adjustments, it will now bring me into a position now where I'm able now to begin to understand and begin to move in that level of consciousness. Number 10 is never stop growing. The science of evolution. We will always evolve. We will never stay in the same place. Listen, if you wear a mask, you don't evolve, because everybody, you're putting out this one persona of who you are, and you're wearing a mask. So everybody thinks that you're just this person. There's no evolution. There's no growth. You're just this person that's wearing a mask. But when you learn how to remove the mask off and begin to be who you are, what happens is you understand that everything in life evolves. Nothing stays the same. You're not the same person you was when you were 5 years old. You're not the same person you were when you were 21. You're not the same person you were when you were 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. You evolve. And because you evolve, you got to understand that the process of reinventing your self-image will constantly revolve, which means this. 5 years from now, you won't be in the same place you are now. Your self-image will change. You're aiming to be happy will be at a different place. You're able to have the winning feeling will be at a whole different place. The cultivating good habits will be different habits than they are now. What you call good habits now, 5 years from now you will have another set of good habits that you'll be cultivating, right? What weaknesses you have now will not be the same weaknesses that you will have 5, 10 years from now, because we evolve and we change. As we continue to work on ourselves and continue to work on this journey, we begin to go through the necessary changes that need to happen. Nobody's perfect. We are all a work in progress. Nobody's perfect. And so, and able to reinvent our self-image, these 10 keys will allow us to be, to do, and to have all that we want. To be, to do, and to have everything that we need in life. To be, to do, and to have everything that I was purposed for in my destiny. Let's go over it one more time, from 1 to 10. The 10 keys to reinventing your self-image. Image is everything. Number 1, take off your mask. Number 2, be honest, be yourself. Number 3, develop your imagination. Number 4, develop the winning feeling. Number 5, aim to be happy. Number 6, cultivate good habits. Number 7, grow from mistakes and experiences. Number 8, acknowledge your weaknesses. Number 9, no more excuses, make adjustments. No more excuses, make adjustments. Number 10, evolution, never stop growing. We are always evolving. We are always growing. Those of you that are married, you're not in the same place that you were in year 1, that you're in year 5. You evolve. Your self-image, your image as a marriage, your image as a wholeness, as a family unit has changed. So these are the dynamics that will help us to be proficient in our reinventing the self-image. Image is everything. You want to be able to walk around, and when people, and whatever self-image you have of yourself, it is the exact self-image that everybody else has of you too, because there's no separation between you and your self-image. You and your self-image are one. God says, I created you in our image, in our likeness. So what you're doing is you're bringing yourself back to the remembrance that I was created in the image of God and in his likeness. Created he, them, male and female. And so we're excited about these 10 keys tonight. Tonight, I want you to take these 10 keys and begin to work with them for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month. Begin to work with these things and begin to utilize them, begin to meditate on them, and begin to really systematically put them in your everyday functions of how you're going to utilize these 10 keys, because you understand that your image is everything. It's everything that you are, everything that you will be, and everything that you shall be will be considered and be connected to your self-image. Our affirmation for tonight says, all obstacles now vanish from my pathway. Doors fly open, gates are lifted, and I enter the kingdom of fulfillment in perfect ways. I am a perfect idea in divine mind, and I am always in the right place, doing the right work at the right time with the right people, and so it is. As we get ready to move into this new moon tomorrow, I want to definitely caution you to be very careful that we want to manifest abundance. We want to manifest our good that's coming to us unexpectedly and expectedly. We want to open up and receive from the universe, from the north, south, east, and the west. We want to be in a great state of consciousness, of manifestation, of receiving the good. We want to be in a great place. And so I'm excited about what's going to be happening. I'm excited about where we're going. Those of you that are on this call, every Sunday going forward until September the 11th, we're going to be teaching out of the Millionaires of the Bible series. Right now, we're doing the book of Joshua. Those of you that want to order the book and follow us, it's an orange book written by Catherine Ponder. You can go on Amazon. I think they're selling it for like $11 on Amazon. You may be able to get it in Kindle too. I'm not sure. But we are going to be teaching out of that book. And then after that one, we're going to be doing the Millionaire from Nazareth. And that one is the yellow book with the gold star. The one that we're in now is the orange book with the gold star, the Millionaire of Joshua. And so we're going to be really working with that. And then once we work with that, and you guys can be a part of it. So you can go on Amazon.com. You can order it, The Millionaire of Joshua by Catherine Ponder. And we're going to be moving out of that book. I'll be letting you know how many weeks we're going to stay in that book, and then we'll move over to the Millionaire of Nazareth. And we'll be doing this until September the 11th, when the master teacher, Reverend Israel Malik Esters, will grace us with his presence again. And we'll be honored to receive him, and we'll be glad to receive him once again. So tonight we're going to be working with our self-image seed. We're in a part of our call tonight, which is a circulation of giving. Why? Because everything that we release, every time we release funds out of our hand, we're circulating them. We're circulating them, and we are receiving a 100-fold return. Every time I release something, funds out of my hand, I'm actually circulating them. We no longer spend money, because in the word spend is the word end. And we don't spend our money, we release and circulate our money. And once we circulate it, it comes back to us. And so tonight, the self-image seed is going to be $12.44. $12.44. Why $12.44? $12.44 actually comes up to the number 3. The number 3 is the number of self-expression. It's you expressing the self-image. It's you stepping out and saying, this is who I am. Hear me, world. World, see who I am. It is me stepping out. The number 3 also has to do with you expanding who you are, to really expand your level of consciousness, to really expand and move from one shift, one level of consciousness to the next. And when you see the number 3 a lot, the number 3 usually is a time when a person is very busy and they're very they got so many things going on. But what's happening is that as you are expressing yourself, you have to realize that there's so many different dynamics and layers to yourself that anybody who's going to be in the process of reinventing their self-image, you're going to be busy because there's so much to unpack. There's so much to really unpack and deal with. And so we're going to be working with the $12.44 seed on tonight. Those of you that want to be a blessing, you can, we have a different ways to give. We have 4 ways. Our first way, we just added the Cash App. The Cash App is going to be TOESC, which stands for the Temple of Enlightenment Spiritual Center. So that's TOESC. And you can do the Cash App. We have PayPal, which is going to be Issachar Bey at gmail.com. We also have Venmo, which is going to be at Issachar-Bey. We also have Zelle, which is IssacharBey at gmail.com. So tonight, the seed of self-image, the reinventing the self-image seed is $12.44. Whatever it is that you want to donate, if you wanted to donate more, if you wanted to sow more, or whatever you have that you want to sow, we are good ground to sow into. I always believe this one truth, that whoever you sustain will determine how you get maintained. I'll say that again. Whoever you sustain will determine how you get maintained. We're not trying to take nothing from you. We're trying to get something to you. And so when we begin to look at our circulation, I love to call it the circulation part of the call, where we all can participate in circulating. Whatever I release out of my hands, I'm calling it to come back 100-fold return. And so this is the reinventing self-image seed on tonight. I want to reinvent my self-image as we move into the new moon tomorrow. I'm definitely working with these 10 keys myself so that I can reinvent my self-image about how I see myself, how I feel about myself, how I look at myself. I want to be able to go through the transformation because I want to be the person that I want to be, not because of what people believe or what I want people to think I am, but I want to be who I believe I am and my purpose and my destiny. The same way that he, in Psalms 139, formed my innermost parts and knitted me together. I want to come back into remembrance, into alignment with exactly who I am, because he tells me here in 139:14, he says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And so I just believe that tonight. I believe everybody on this call that we all are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so, I think that there's no mistakes. There's no accidents. There's no mistakes or accidents. It's not by accident that you're on this call tonight. It's not by accident that you are listening to this call, because there may have been something that you needed to hear that says, you know what, I need to change my self-image. You're absolutely right. I've been wearing a mask for so long that I didn't even realize who I was. I was pretending to be somebody who I wasn't. I was pretending to actually encounter some things and be something that I wasn't, when I need to come back into who I am and knowing the gifts, the talents, the things that I was born with, my purpose in life, to me operating who I am and not worry about what other people think about me. not worrying about what other people say about me, but just being who I am. I mean, Shakespeare had it best. He said, to be or not to be, that is the question. The question I have to ask you is, are you going to be or not? They say that we are human beings, and in the word being is the word be, which means that I have to be who I am. I can't act like somebody else. I can't portray somebody else. I just got to be who I am. I am an original. And because of that, I need to be in a position to reinvent my self-image. I'm evolving. And I will definitely be working very closely with these 10 keys tonight. And I'm just excited about your future and what's coming. We're definitely looking forward to Sunday. Those of you who will be on the Millionaires of the Bible series call, we're going to be utilizing these truths and these precepts and really moving into some great levels of knowledge. And I think that everybody's life will be great. I actually love it because this series I actually love. It's one of my favorites. And because I'm getting back into really teaching it and really going over it, it's just really opening up so much for me on many different levels. So, when I do these calls, believe it or not, to be honest, they're probably more so for me than anybody else because I'm actually speaking to the choir. So I think that we're in a great place where we're able to really utilize and really begin to utilize these things. Now, I will say this. To listen to these calls, to get these call notes, and to write down the things that you get and write things down means absolutely nothing. These calls are only going to work when you apply what we have discussed and what you learned. You learning these 10 keys tonight means absolutely nothing unless you take it and apply. Now, people always say all the time, knowledge is power, but knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Just because you know something don't mean that you got the power. Your knowledge and applying that knowledge now gives you the power. Just because you know something doesn't give you the power at all. But until you can utilize that knowledge and apply it, then and only then will it become powerful. And so I say the same thing with these calls on our Sunday Millionaires calls, on these calls on Wednesday nights. These truths, these lessons absolutely mean nothing until you take the knowledge and apply it to your life. Listen, it works if you work it. As the great Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman would say, it works if you work it. And so tonight, we want to thank you for all of you once again who are going to join us in our circulation, the Reinventing the Self-Image Seed of $12.44. And as I said, the number 3 is the number of expansion. It's the number of travel. The number 3 is the number of being able to expand your horizon, be able to step out in life and begin to go out and get the things that you want to see manifested in your life. And so we're working with that seed tonight. I want to thank all of you for being a part of this call tonight. One of the things I want to do, too, is I want to tell you that we're looking forward to the greatness and the monumental, phenomenal years that are ahead of you. I believe that the years ahead of you are far more greater than the years behind you. And so it is. We believe that on tonight. So before we end this call, I'd like to say one thing. Your destiny is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. Thank you and good night.